Oh dear God.
Hello loves, and welcome to another edition of Americans Who Love Britain. Your happy Texas-based Anglophile here with another installment. I'm going to put this in the culture and food category, titled Products I Like from the UK. And I've got a number of them here, and of course a lot of them are food-based. But first and foremost, let's get into it with Mr. Kipling's pies. Now this is the mince pies I used in our traditional Christmas lunch video, but they make a number of flavors, including lemon tarts. Their cherry little pie is just scrumptious. They all have a shortbread crust on them, and they're very tasty during tea time. So I recommend Mr. Bakewell or Mr. Kipling, but the Bakewell's also makes a brand that is very tasty, but one of the staples of English culture and life in any English kitchen. Of course, going on to some of the food staples in a lot of the English kitchens, you couldn't be without your Heinz baked beans. Now these are a little bit different than what we have here in the US. You know, we think of traditional pork and beans, but Heinz beans are served, one of the food items that the British like to eat, or you may have heard it spoken about, beans on toast. It would be these blue labeled Heinz beans. Also, they serve these beans with breakfast. You might have sausages and eggs, but you'd have a dollop of Heinz beans on your table. They're a little bit different. They're not like our pork and beans. They're in kind of a tomato sauce, but again, a staple of every British kitchen, and they're pretty tasty as well. Heinz is worldwide. This is a British tradition in just about every British household. Amongst the other regular foods I like, you know, Britain has great ties with the country of India, and you may have heard of folks saying, let's go out for a curry. One of the tastiest curry dishes I've ever discovered, which is relatively common in England, is called chicken tikka masala. Now this is the Kroger brand. The brand that you usually find is called Pataks, P-A-T-A-K-S. You see it on your screen right now. It is now more widely available in a lot of the higher end grocery stores. This is the Kroger brand. The reason I'm showing you the Kroger brand is, number one, it's a little bit cheaper, and number two, I like the flavor of it a little bit better. But it's a kind of a lemon, tomatoey curry cooking sauce that all you have to do is brown a couple of chicken breasts and dump this whole jar in it and serve it over rice, and I promise you it's delicious. But if you're thinking of trying out Indian food for the first time, or curry for the first time, I highly recommend tikka masala cooking sauce with a chicken breast. It's a common dish in England called chicken tikka masala. It's got the sweet curry and the tomato and the lemon, and it is just to die for. One of my other favorites, you know, in the US we call them potato chips or chips. In England they call them crisps. The number one brand in the UK is Walker's. They probably have 50 different flavors. My favorite is the salt and vinegar. Now don't mistake the salt and vinegars like the Pringles or the Lay's or the kettle chips that say salt and vinegar we get here in the US. They are mild compared to Walker's. Walker's are very strong salt and vinegar. You eat a couple of packets of these and your lips will be burning, but I'm telling you, the burn is so good. They're so flavorful. But Walker's chips, if you want to try crisps for the first time, an English crisp, I highly recommend Walker's crisps. They have everything from prawn cocktail to smoky bacon flavor and flavors we've never even heard of that you can find at your British specialty store. And again, some major grocery stores have started carrying these if they have a British food aisle. I'm going to move on to what the British call biscuits. We call them cookies. One of my favorite, and for some reason these came in a box with a little plastic package in it. They're usually in a blue resealable tube. Chocolate hobnobs. Again, they are very common in England, and people love them. I'll take one out and show it to you here. It is an Odie cookie, Odie and Wheatie cookie with a layer. You can get them in dark chocolate, or you can get them in milk chocolate, but I just love them. This is the milk chocolate on the bottom and a real Odie cookie on the top of it. It is to die for. I'm a cookie monster, and when I have my choice of what cookie I would buy, it's always going to be chocolate hobnobs from McVitie's, which is a major manufacturer of or producer of English biscuits. But McVitie's hobnobs, again on the screen I have a picture of what they look like in the blue tube. For some reason these were in a box for export that I was actually able to get here in the US. They are delicious. To me, Christmas time would not be complete without having a Cadbury cookie tin. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I am very biased in favor of Cadbury, especially Cadbury chocolates, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, and I'll tell you why. But this is the 2015 Cadbury cookie tin. Again, they call them biscuits, but for us, they put cookies here. This is a selection that is great if you're having guests over to put out on the table. I'll show you what they look like inside. They are always just an excellent selection of Cadbury chocolate cookies. There's 2 trays in this tin. They're sold out right now. I think I got one of the last ones at World Market. They were on sale, but this Cadbury cookie tin, which I say again is great for entertaining, all different kinds of flavors of chocolate covered cookies. They're great for entertaining, and it's almost become a tradition at my house to get a Cadbury cookie tin every year. And again, this is their Christmas jumper pattern, if you will. Jumper is British slang for shirt or sweater, but in any event, they are just delicious, especially with coffee or tea. Now, most important, something near and dear to my heart are the sweets, as they call them. We call it candy, but the British call them chocolates and sweets. I'm partial to the chocolates, but I will tell you again, Cadbury, they've changed the packaging in the last several years, but this is what they call a Cadbury milk tray. And what it is, it's like a U.S. Whitman sampler or whatever. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit real quickly about British chocolate. The reason I'm partial to it is it's creamier. Why? Here in the U.S., and the predominant manufacturer is Hershey, they add a touch of paraffin to the chocolate to keep it melting so fast. Because of our warmer climate here in the U.S. and the shipping and all of that, chocolates tend to melt. Well, to combat that, Hershey years ago started adding a touch of paraffin to the chocolate, which, I mean, it still tastes good. I love Hershey's Kisses and all of that. It just tastes different, and it has a different texture. They don't put paraffin in their chocolates in the UK, and what ends up happening is they become much more creamier. But here's somebody's gotten into my milk tray. There's 2 layers here, but as you can see here on the top, you have everything from chocolate truffles to orange chocolate to salted caramels. These are a finer type of British chocolate, but I'm telling you, if you ever taste Cadbury, and one thing I live for at Easter is the Cadbury mini eggs. The chocolate tastes different, but it is so much creamier than American chocolate without the paraffin. And I'm going to protest here for just a minute. Hershey actually bought Cadbury, and here in the US, believe it or not, Hershey has banned selling Cadbury chocolates, I believe starting next year in January or February of 2016. Cadbury chocolates from the UK are going to disappear from store shelves. They had candy bars like the Caramello and all of that because they don't want the competition. And now that they own Cadbury, they can do that. I think it's un-American. I may stage a protest or a walkout or something. But fear not, they can still get them in Canada, but it's going to cost more to find Cadbury chocolates because you literally will not be able to buy them in the U.S. next year because of Hershey banning their sale and competing with the Hershey products here in the U.S. And that's a shame because Cadbury chocolate is the best. One of the Cadbury chocolates is most popular. It came out in 1970. is the Curly Whirly. I always buy my kids these and put them in their stockings every Christmas. I had these shipped with some shipments we're getting in from the UK for these videos. Curly Whirly is something every kid loves. All it is a laced piece of caramel covered in Cadbury chocolate. They are to die for. And again, you've got the creamy Cadbury chocolate on the outside, and this lace is a lace of caramel underneath. And when you bite into it, you get the creaminess of the chocolate and a very creamy caramel. And again, Curly Whirlies, if you're wanting to try out your first Cadbury product or the first standard British candy bar, this would be it, the Curly Whirly. They have become notorious over the years. And of course, another staple that's very similar to something we have in the US, they're not made by Cadbury, but they're called Maltesers. In the US, we call them Whoppers, but they are small pieces of like a malted milk ball covered in a paraffin-free chocolate that makes them just taste a little bit different. So this would be my second choice if you want to try a British sweet. Maltesers are always good for those of you that like Whoppers. Also, a staple, one product that I just recently finally broke down and bought is this particular teapot. And you look at it and it's brown and it's not very ornate or very pretty, and you say, well, why the heck would you buy an ugly brown teapot? This is a traditional English, what they call Brown Betty. Now you can get them in cobalt. They're made in England. They're not made in the US, and I'll tell you the difference. What's different from a Brown Betty from your standard fancy porcelain teapot or even a ceramic teapot that you would buy here in the US? These are made in Stoke-on-Trent, which I've actually been to and visited. They call it the Potteries. They are only made in England with a special clay. It's a special terracotta clay, and the reason that people buy these Brown Betties for everyday use over porcelain and ceramic is the terracotta clay used in these retain the heat 2 to 3 times longer than a standard porcelain or ceramic teapot. So you can make your tea here and put your tea cozy on it. And I have made tea in this Brown Betty, and it has stayed hot for well over an hour, sometimes an hour and a half to 2 hours with a tea cozy on it. So if you were to make this in a standard ceramic or porcelain teapot, the tea starts getting tepid, in about half an hour, maybe 35 minutes or something like that. The special terracotta clay that a Brown Betty is made from, and by the way, I bought this one on Amazon. It's imported from England, but you can get them on Amazon in 2, 4, 6, and 8 cup sizes. This is a 6 cup, actually a 6 cup size. I think it's 4, 6, and 8. In any event, the special terracotta clay that they use in England to make the Brown Betties will retain the heat for 2 to 3 times longer than your standard teapot. Well, that's about it for now. I just wanted to show you some of the products that I like from England. I hope you appreciate everything we're doing here to educate and inform you on all things Britain. If you like our video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It lets us know you appreciate the effort we're putting out here to bring you the latest and greatest in information. Stay tuned for many more videos. Down in the link or in the description, there's a link for my viewers only. If you like listening to books instead of reading them, I've got a special deal for you from audible.com. You get your first month free and your first book download free with no further obligation. Click the link below to get the deal and try it out. It'll definitely be worth the time. That's it for now. We very much appreciate you watching, and be sure again to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.